Good evening to our global audience, and welcome to this special deep dive report. We are broadcasting live with a story that is not just shaking the foundations of professional tennis, but is rewriting the very rules of global sports celebrity right before our eyes. We often talk about the changing of the guard in sports, the moment a young prodigy steps onto the court and challenges a legend with forehand or serve. But what we are witnessing today, what we are breaking down in this broadcast, is a revolution that is happening off the court, in the digital arena, in a way that has left the traditional power brokers of tennis absolutely stunned. You have seen the headlines. You have seen the murmurs circulating across social media, from YouTube analysis videos to heated debates on tennis forums. The phrase being thrown around is the BBC World Revelation, a term that has come to symbolize a sudden, shocking realization that the hierarchy of popularity in world tennis has been inverted overnight. The headline that brings us here today is provocative. It is controversial, and as we are finding out, it is backed by cold, hard data. Alex Eala flies the popularity of Alcaraz and Sabalenka. Panic to Alex. Now, let's unpack this immediately. When we think of the current titans of tennis, we think of Carlos Alcaraz, the Spanish phenomenon, the heir apparent to Big Three, a man who has dazzled the world with his athleticism and charisma. We think of Alcaraz Sabalenka, the ferocious power hitter, the world number one, a dominant force who grinds through tournaments with an iron will. These are the athletes who are supposed to be the undisputed faces of the sport. They are the ones winning the slams. They are the ones holding the trophies. But here is the twist. Here is a revelation that has reportedly sent shockwaves through the marketing departments of major brands and the boardrooms of the ADP and WTA. When it comes to pure, raw, engaged popularity, specifically at the recent Australian Open, Alex Eala, the 19-year-old Filipino sensation, is not just competing with these giants. She is, by several key metrics, eclipsing them. We are looking at statistics that defy conventional logic. Reports have surfaced, highlighted by tennis journalists and data analysts, showing that during the Australian Open, Alex Eala's press conferences and digital content generated viewership numbers that doubled those of Novak Djokovic. Let that sink in for a moment. Novak Djokovic, the greatest of all time by many metrics, the man with 24 Grand Slams, was outpaced in digital attention by a teenager ranked outside the top 50, playing the early rounds of the tournament. Furthermore, the data suggests that Eala's engagement metrics have surged past Aryna Sabalenka and even Carlos Alcaraz in specific markets and platforms. We are talking about 60,000 views on a press conference for Eala, compared to a fraction of that for the established elites in similar time frames. This is what the panic in the headline refers to. It is not a panic that Eala is going to beat Alcaraz in a tennis match. That's obviously not the comparison. The panic is an industry-wide realization that the center of gravity for tennis fandom is shifting aggressively toward Asia, and specifically toward this one young woman who carries the hopes of 115 million Filipinos and a massive global diaspora on her shoulders. This is a BBC World Revelation narrative we are exploring today. The idea that Western dominance in tennis narrative is being upended by a Southeast Asian surge. The tennis world is waking up to a reality where a first-round or second-round match featuring Alex Eala might be more valuable to broadcasters, advertisers, and social media algorithms than a quarter-final match featuring a European mainstay. That is a terrifying prospect for the traditionalists, but it is an exhilarating one for the future of the sport. Why is this happening? How did a player who is still building her resume, who is still fighting to cement her place in the main draws, manage to capture the world's attention more effectively than the players lifting the trophies? Is it simply national pride? Is it the Pacquiao effect transferring to tennis? Or is there something unique about Alex Eala? Her story, her training at the Rafa Nadal Academy, her humble yet fierce demeanor, that resonates with the Gen Z audience in a way that the polished, PR-managed superstars do not? In this broadcast, we are going to go beyond the clickbait. We are going to dissect the numbers. We are going to analyze the cultural phenomenon of the Filipino sports fan, the most passionate, digitally engaged fan base on the planet. We will look at what this means for Carlos Alcaraz and Aryna Sabalenka. Does this popularity gap put pressure on them? Does it change how the WTA markets its stars? And ultimately, we will ask, Is Alex Eala the most important player in tennis right now? Not because of what she has won yet, but because of who is watching her? Stay with me. We are about to strip away the hype and look at the raw reality of this seismic shift in the sports world. This is a story of how a girl from Quezon City became the digital giant killer of the Australian Open. This is the deep dive into the Alex Eala phenomenon. Chapter 1, The Anatomy of the Surge. Let's begin by grounding this discussion in the specific event that triggered this narrative, the Australian Open. The first Grand Slam of the year is always a litmus test for player popularity. It is the happy slam where the global tennis community wakes up from its off-season slumber. Usually, the narrative is strictly controlled by the seeds. The cameras follow the top 10. The interview rooms are packed for the defending champions. But this year, something strange happened in the press rooms and on the YouTube channels of the major broadcasters. Journalists on the ground began noticing that the cue to get into Alex Eala's press briefings was, to quote one report, insane. We saw scenes where Eala stayed on the court for nearly an hour after a loss. I repeat, after a loss, signing autographs for a sea of fans that refuse to leave. Now, compare this to the reception of the heavy hitters. Carlos Alcaraz is beloved, no doubt. He draws a crowd. But the engagement with Alcaraz is often one of admiration for excellence. It is a polite, respectful, and enthusiastic fandom for a superstar. The engagement with Alex Eala is different. It is visceral. It is emotional. It is a connection that transcends a sport. When we look at the BBC World framing, and to be clear, we are using this as a shorthand for the global media attention she is receiving. It points to a specific disruption in the algorithm. In the modern digital economy, attention is a currency. For years, tennis has struggled to create stars that transcend the sport. We had Federer, Nadal, Serena, since they have moved towards retirement. There has been a vacuum. The industry desperately hoped Alcaraz and Sabalenka would fill that vacuum solely through match wins. And they have, to an extent. Alcaraz is a marketing dream. Sabalenka has a great personality. But they lack one specific ingredient that Eala possesses in abundance, a massive, underrepresented demographic that sees themselves in her. The panic described in our headline stems from the realization that Western tennis media might be irrelevant to the future growth of the sport. If a video of Alex Eala talking about her match preparation gets double the views of Novak Djokovic talking about a record-breaking win, the broadcasters have a problem. They are promoting the wrong product to the wrong audience. This revelation is the industry realizing that the Philippines is not just a niche market. It is a sleeping giant that has suddenly woken up, and they are bringing their traffic, their clicks, and their ad revenue to one person, Alex Eala. Chapter 2, The Alcaraz and Sabalenka Comparison. It is important to address the names mentioned in the title. Carlos Alcaraz and Aryna Sabalenka. Why are they the yardstick? Carlos Alcaraz represents the pinnacle of the new gen of men's tennis. He is the chosen one. He has the Nike contracts, the luxury endorsements, the game that mixes power and finesse. He is supposed to be the most popular player on earth. For a 19-year-old ranked number 50-something to challenge his digital footprint is statistically absurd. It shouldn't happen. It's like a rookie in the NBA selling more jerseys than LeBron James. Aryna Sabalenka represents the dominance of the WDA. She is fierce, loud, and incredibly successful, but her popularity has always been somewhat complicated by geopolitical factors and her on-court intensity, which polarizes some fans. The BBC World Revelation narrative suggests that Eala is flying past them in popularity because she offers a narrative that is purer and more relatable. Eala is the underdog. She is the Rafa Nadal Academy graduate who grinds. She is not 6'2". She doesn't serve 120 miles per hour. She fights. That fight is relatable. But there is a deeper layer here. The panic to Alex suggests that the establishment fears a distortion of meritocracy. In sports, we like to believe that popularity equals success. If you win, you become famous. Alex Eala is proving that in 2026, you can become famous, and then the wins follow. She is reversing the formula. She is bringing the fame first. This puts pressure on Alcaraz and Sabalenka. They now have to compete not just on the court, But for the narrative, if Alcaraz wins a match in straight sets, it's expected. It's almost boring news. Alcaraz wins again. But if Alex Eala plays a three-setter in the first round, it's a national event. It's a global trending topic. The panic is a fear of irrelevance, that you could be the best player in the world, but if the algorithm prefers a girl from the Philippines, you lose the culture war. Chapter 3, The Panic and the Industry Shift. Let's dig deeper into this word, panic. It's a strong word. Who is panicking? First, the tournament directors. They schedule matches based on who sells tickets and who keeps viewers glued to the screen. Traditionally, you put the world number one on center court. But if the data says that Alex Eala on court 3 is generating more online buzz than the number one on center court, do you move Eala to center court? If you do, you upset the hierarchy. If you don't, you lose viewership. That is the panic. It is a logistical nightmare of popularity versus ranking. Second, the sponsors. Brands like Nike, Adidas, Wilson, and had paid millions to the top seeds expecting them to be the most visible athletes. If a brand is paying Sabalenka $10 million, but the social media clips of Alex Eala wearing a different brand are getting twice the circulation, the sponsors start asking questions. They start reallocating budgets. We are seeing a shift where marketability is decoupling from ranking. This is the Eala effect. Third, the other players. We have heard whispers, sometimes unsubstantiated but persistent, of jealousy in the locker room. Not necessarily towards Eala personally. She is known to be sweet and respectful, but towards the attention she gets. Imagine being a top 20 player who has grinded for 10 years, and you walk into a press room with 3 journalists. Then you see Eala, ranked lower than you, with a packed room and millions of views. It creates tension. It creates a sense that the system is unfair, or that popularity is a distraction. But is it unfair? Or is it simply the reality of a global sport? Tennis has been Eurocentric for a century. The panic is simply the Eurocentric bubble bursting. The center of the world's population is in Asia. It makes perfect sense that the most popular player would come from Asia. The panic is simply the West realizing they are no longer the default main character of the story. Chapter 4, The Filipino Phenomenon. We cannot tell this story without analyzing the engine behind this popularity. The Filipino fan. There's a saying in the digital world, Pinoy pride is the strongest algorithm. We have seen this in beauty pageants, in basketball with Kai Sato, and in boxing with Manny Pacquiao. When a Filipino athlete steps onto the world stage, they do not just represent themselves. They represent the validation of a nation. The support for Alex Eala is not casual fandom. It is patriotic duty. Every like, every share, every view is a vote for the Philippines' relevance on the global stage. This is why the numbers are so skewed. A fan of Carlos Alcaraz might watch his match and turn off the TV. A fan of Alex Eala will watch the match, watch the highlights, watch the press conference, share the post on Facebook, comment on Instagram, and defend her in the YouTube comment section. This high engagement behavior is gold for social media platforms. It triggers the recommendation engines. This is why Eala's videos fly past Alcaraz. The algorithm sees high engagement and pushes the content to more people, creating a viral loop. The BBC World Revelation is essentially a recognition of this power. The media is realizing that if you put Alex Eala in your headline, you get traffic. If you put Alcaraz, you get tennis fans. If you put Eala, you get a nation. Chapter 5, The Rafa Nadal Academy Factor. We must also touch upon the Rafa connection. This adds a layer of legitimacy to Eala that protects her from being labeled just a social media star. She is not a TikTok creation. She is a product of the most grueling tennis academy on earth. She graduated from the Rafa Nadal Academy. She has been mentored by the king of clay himself. We have seen the footage of Rafa praising her work ethic. This gives her a shield. When critics try to dismiss her popularity as just hype, her defenders can point to her pedigree. She was trained by Nadal. This connection links her to the heritage of the sport. It bridges the gap between the old guard Nadal fans and the new market Asian fans. It makes her the perfect hybrid star. She has the European training and the Asian heart. This combination is lethal for marketing. It explains why the popularity metric is so high. She appeals to multiple demographics at once. Chapter 6, The Reality Check. What's next? So, where do we go from here? The headline says panic to Alex, implying she is a threat. And she is. But the threat is currently one of influence, not yet of dominance. The next step for Alex Eala is the most difficult one. She has to convert this panic into trophies. She has the popularity of a top 5 player, but the ranking of a top 50 player. This gap creates pressure. Every loss will be scrutinized by millions. Every double fault will be debated in thousands of comment threads. Alcaraz and Sabalenka have the luxury of their trophies. They can have a bad month and point to their grand slams. Eala does not have that safety net yet. Her popularity is currently potential-based. It is based on what people believe she will do. However, the revelation is that perhaps she doesn't need to win a slam tomorrow to be the face of the sport. Maybe the sport is changing to value the journey, the struggle, and the representation more than just the silverware. If Alex Eala can break into the top 20 or the top 10 with this level of backing, she won't just be popular. She will be the biggest female athlete in the world, bar none. That is the trajectory we are looking at. That is why the BBC, the tennis world, and the fans are all fixated on this 19-year-old. She is the test case for the future of tennis in the Asian century. Part 3, the outro. We have spent the last segment dissecting the numbers, the cultural forces, and the undeniable shift in the tennis landscape that Alex Eala represents. As we move towards the conclusion of this special report, it is crucial that we step back and look at the broader picture. What we are witnessing with the Alex Eala phenomenon is not a fleeting trend. It is not a viral moment that will vanish with the next news cycle. We are witnessing a fundamental restructuring of who matters in the world of sports. The headline we started with spoke of a revelation and panic, but perhaps the better word is awakening. The tennis establishment, long comfortable in its European and American bubbles, is awakening to the roar of a new region. They are awakening to the reality that a young woman from the Philippines can command more digital real estate than the reigning Wimbledon champion. This should not be a cause for panic for Carlos Alcaraz or Aryna Sabalenka. Instead, it should be a challenge. It challenges them to connect deeper. It challenges the ATP and WTA to broaden their horizons, to look beyond the traditional markets, and to embrace the diversity that Eala brings to the tour. For Alex Eala herself, the road ahead is treacherous but filled with glory. The weight of this popularity is heavy. To be the most popular, without yet being the champion, is a difficult burden. It invites criticism. It invites envy. There will be those who say she hasn't earned this attention yet. There will be detractors who point to rankings and say, "Look at the points, not the views." But those detractors are missing the point. Sports are entertainment. Sports are about emotion. And right now, no one is generating more raw, authentic emotion in her fan base than Alex Eala. She is inspiring a generation of young girls in Southeast Asia to pick up a racket. She is forcing broadcasters to buy rights to matches they previously would have ignored. She is, quite literally, changing the economy of the sport in her region. As she continues her season, every match will be an event. The panic will subside, and it will be replaced by respect. If she can marry this overwhelming popularity with the consistency of a top 10 player, if she can start making the second weeks of slams regularly, then the comparisons to Alcaraz and Sabalenka won't just be about YouTube views. They will be about finals. They will be about trophies. And that is a prospect that should thrill every tennis fan on the planet. We will continue to track this story. We will continue to monitor the numbers, the matches, and the Eala effect as it ripples through the tennis world. The revolution is here, and it is holding a racket, wearing the Philippine flag, and breaking the internet one press conference at a time. This has been a deep dive special report. We have analyzed the data, we have explored the context, and we have laid out the future. The ball is now in Alex Eala's court, and the whole world is watching. Thank you for joining us for this extensive analysis. If you found this deep dive insightful, if you want to stay ahead of the curve on the stories that are truly shaping the sports world, make sure you are subscribed. We don't just read the headlines here, we define them. Until next time, Keep your eye on the ball and keep watching the rising stars.